Ukraine saw some of the heaviest fighting in World War II between Soviet and Axis forces. World War II wrecks and equipment are being recovered to this day from both sides in and around the area, but usually from long forgotten forests, rivers or bogs that guarded them since the day they were abandoned or destroyed, with famous examples in museums today. But something a little stranger has been happening since the beginning of the Russian so-called special military operation. Other than the examples of small arms being used on both sides from as far back as World War I, behemoths of a bygone era have been appearing on the battlefields of Ukraine. Some vehicles that are clearly copies using a donor chassis, like the mock-up Panther that was discovered. The top half even looks quite convincing. Others we know have been removed from war memorials and have been seemingly dragged to another location. One fake instance was a train of T-34s in Russia. Not only did this video predate the war, but they were in fact returning from Laos, possibly for parades, monuments or museum use in Russia. And I'm sure we'll continue to see more examples of this on both sides as stocks run low. But why? Although the possibility exists that ammunition could be available for these relics, either dragged from storage or remanufactured, unless they've been properly maintained, firing them could prove fatal for anyone curious enough to try. Surely an 80-year-old vehicle attempting to come head-to-head with a more modern battle tank would be futile. Well, a tank is still better than no tank. But maybe that isn't their purpose at all. Long in the history of warfare have armies used decoys, something that in one form or another is true to this day. Nothing more famous than the inflatable tanks of the Allied forces in World War II. From another military perspective, other than using them as a decoy, they could be used to bottleneck Russian armour into a pre-designated kill zone to trap them in for an ambush. The most recent addition to the list is a Frankenstein Panzer IV, sporting a relatively terrible, fresh-looking paint job, suggesting that it may not have recently been discovered from a bog, and more likely to have been privately owned. Which is not uncommon, as we saw a Panzer and other equipment, notably an 88, recovered from a basement not long ago in Germany. Another giveaway is the fact that most of the easy-to-remove parts have been pillaged, possibly for scrap, something I highly doubt happening on a front line. It appears to have been dragged in position without tracks on, as you can see from the mud build-up in the road wheels. The barrel is not original. It certainly isn't just an iron tube as suggested. Note the threading for a muzzle brake and another machining mark further down closer to the mantlet. And the very distinctive rifling suggesting either a pre-1960s tank gun or some sort of artillery barrel. Some of the rust and discoloration of the paintwork supports recent fire damage, but other areas of rust are from exposure to the elements when a poor paint job has failed. You can see this by the more sandy colour of the rust in other areas far away from the possible fire damage. This would also suggest either it was painted very recently or it was stored indoors until very recently. A couple of interesting non-tank related things I noticed were the fact that one of the soldiers inspecting the tank seems to be wearing British issue Osprey body armour, possibly taken from a Ukrainian. Another soldier is carrying a USP-1 optic from the 1970s that was a copy of the British optic at the time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this short video.